Majak Radio.
This is Majak Radio.
Music Studio.
Good afternoon, esteemed listeners, wherever you are listening from. You are locked into Majak Radio 92.2 FM, the pulse of the nation, the platform for progress, and your home for special interview. I am your host, Tijana Sture. Many thanks for joining us. This is your view cycle aimed at promoting divergent views. This afternoon here on Majak Radio 92.2 FM, we host a guest who represents the audacity of hope and the promise of a new dawn, Mr. Saikou Sawo. Saikou Sawo is the party leader and presidential aspirant for the Golden Era Party in the upcoming 2026 general elections. A visionary entrepreneur, proud U.S. Army veteran and solutions-driven leader, he has built a global track record in business, technology, and community development. Raised in Sukuta, where his family has been part of the development since the 1970s. He graduated from SOS High School before working his way to the United States, earning both a bachelor's and master's degree. He rose through the ranks of corporate America before founding and successfully exiting SBXGT, a strategic technology and consulting firm with multiple U.S. state government contracts. He also co-founded Mirrored Aesthetic and Wellness Center in the Gambia with his wife, Mariam Serif, creating over 30 full-time jobs and fostering international medical tourism partnerships. Saikou is deeply committed to economic reform, sustainable job creation, and building a legacy of opportunity for future generations in the Gambia. To begin with, Mr. Sawo, what motivated you to join into politics?
That's a great question. It was out of frustration. I grew up in the system here, very limited opportunities, growing up in Sokoto from a modest home, and background, and then getting a scholarship to go to the US, and then coming back home, it's still the same limited opportunities, not much have changed. I was in the US for over a decade. So, coming home, we see the same struggle. I've had family members go through back where some made it, some didn't make it. So it's sad because I know the potential they have. So if Gambia empowered those youth, and I'm not sad just because it's my family members. I have friends and I see other Gambians that are like brothers. I see myself in them. So due to those frustrations, and we're in the 21st century, we need to do better as a country. We need a positive mindset. That's the reason why I joined politics. I want to make a change. And I'm not just joining politics to start making change. I've been doing things behind the scenes. And obviously now I'm in politics. A lot of the things that I do are documented. But I've been mentoring, doing a lot of change, contributing to the socio-economic aspect of Gambia, creating jobs. I've been in the Gambia for the past 5 years and I've created over 50 full-time employment, with at least a minimum wage. Nobody works for me make under 9,000, so, but we need to do more as a country. What I've done is just a drop in the ocean. We still have, we have a huge unemployment and underemployment, problem. People are graduating and then there's no hope, no good paying jobs. It's one thing to create jobs, but you need, a lot of sectors in Gambia need high paying jobs. So that way we can have a thriving, middle class. So due to these inefficiencies, broken systems, I want to represent the youth. I want to fight, for what they deserve. Personally, I've been able to equip myself with knowledge, created value, created companies, giving back to the community. But we need the same empowerment to other Gambians so they can stand on their own. They should know the future is bright. That yes, you can also make it here in the Gambia. We need to make our country great, so that way we can be respected. So there's a lot of those, issues that I feel like it can be easily addressed. We lack basic amenities that should be standard, at least baseline for development. So this is why, I joined politics, and I want to make a change, and I want the youth to get involved. And the party has 95% youth working, in different capacity within the party. So we're big on youth and women empowerment. So we want to make a difference.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The name Golden Era Party is ambitious.
Yeah.
Can you explain the reason behind the name?
So when we say golden era, it's a new era of thinking. It's a new way of doing things. We're challenging the status quo. And when I say challenge, it's not, to cause rift between Gambians or to cause further chaos, right? It's to say, hey, the way we're doing things, it hasn't worked for the past 60 years, right? We got our independence in 65, and now it's 2025. We have very little to show for it. So we want a different mindset, different way of thinking, and then we want to be solution-driven. Gambians should be able to see tangibles. We're tired of the same presentation, people wearing nice suits, but then the consequences they're not seeing any tangibles. So Gambians should be able to wake up in the morning and be like, wow, yes, this government is truly working. We have very low unemployment. There's a lot of great opportunities. We can actually see tangibles, you know what I'm saying? So that's why we call it the golden era. The mindset will change. Gambians should not have that limited mindset. Oh, we can't do this here in the Gambia. Why not? Other countries are doing it. They're not better than us. So that's why it's called the golden era. The way we do things will be different. Everything has to be performance-based, has to be merit-based. You work hard, you should be able to live in dignity and pride. But how many Gambians work hard and they don't see any benefit from working hard? So that's why we have a corrupt system today. So we call it the golden era because the new dawn is here for change and opportunities.
So how can Gambians see these tangibles, just as you mentioned?
Yeah, it will start from good governance, accountability. You can have good governance without transparency. Every Gambian should know what the benefits they get from their taxes. We should have more transparent government, and we can call ourselves a democracy. Democracy is not just, we have freedom of speech in the Gambia, but is the government representing you? Is the government doing things that benefit you? Is the government listening to your needs? Democracy is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So any reforms, any tangibles should represent what the people need. If the people are saying, hey, the cost of living is high, even from a $10,000 salary, I still can't save, I still can't make ends meet, then the government too should devise creative ways to address those issues. So that way, when they earn, they're able to live in dignity. They have enough to pay for their rent, take care of their kids, and save for their future. So it will start from good governance, listening to people. I mean, you've seen our door-to-door, we engage in the communities. And, on social media, I have golden posts. And we're not just doing this service just because it looks good on social media, but we're actually reading the comments and then going back to fortify our golden 9 agenda. So it will start from listening to Gambians and then solving their problems. There should be a performance base. We should be able to hold our government accountable. When it comes to investment, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to education, we should have a portal, national portal, where Gambians can go and say, hey, a year ago, the government created, 10,000 jobs, and this year they're on track to create 30,000 jobs. What industry, what companies? So this is the mentality and mindset golden era has. Good governance, coming up with creative ways and strategies how we can incentivize our economy and have even foreign investors come in. So there's a lot of things that needs to be done in Gambia. I feel like the issues we have in Gambia needs to be addressed simultaneously, from education, agriculture, good infrastructure, development. So it's a lot that needs to be done. It's not one problem fixes everything. No, there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
I also understand Golden Era Party is a new political party.
Yes.
Is there any way your party has held the government to account, either by speaking or making rebuttals of their statements they have said earlier?
Yes, somewhat. Not specifically, because you know how the politics in Gambia is, everything feels like an attack, whereas we're just stating the obvious. We had the opportunity to go to Gambia Center for
Arts and Culture?
Gambia Center for Victims of Human Rights Abuse and Violations. So when we went there, remember, they formed the TRRC, so that way, those victims from the former regime will be able to get justice and compensation. Well, when we went there, it was a whole different story. Majority of the people still didn't get the compensation that they deserve, and then the few that actually got compensation got very meager funds, like 5,000, which is not enough. Majority, some got compensated well, but this is a commission that has done their job. The people that set up the commission, they got paid nicely, but then the victims were the victims that they were supposed to serve. They're still dragging that case on till today. Most of them still haven't got paid. So it's sad. The commission was set to represent the victims. The organizers got paid, or whatever the situation is, but the victims that they represented are still struggling, till today. So that's just gross negligence, and inefficiency. And I feel like the government should have done better, especially, after the impasse. We had this coalition, and then, a new party came about. Those are things Gambians were expecting for them, because back then I wasn't even thinking about politics. So, and unfortunately, I haven't been following up on that. So when I went there, it was eye-opening for me to find out, wow, these victims, the case is still dragging on. I feel like, it should have been expedited. They shouldn't have to wait for years, when the evidence is, very glaring. So, those are some of the issues that I posted on my social media platform to say, hey, it's sad and it's ironic. The people that deserve the compensation are still waiting, and then the organizers have been paid, and then they've moved on. So why is the government not prioritizing those people? Those are Gambians that have been inflicted, through hardship. So those are some of the things I've highlighted, and then there are other issues that we're speaking on, not necessarily attacking anybody, but it's just stating the facts and and the obvious.
Commendable. Moving on, agriculture is the backbone of every nation. Mm-hmm. How would you make sure the Gambia is self-sufficient?
Yes, agriculture is key. There are different ways we can focus on agriculture, so that way we ensuring food security and sustainability. And for agriculture, we need to focus on mechanized farming, so that way we can like, for example, wheat. Gambians eat a lot of bread, so we need to focus into wheat production, mechanized farming, hectares of lands, and then horticultural crops also need to be grown at a bigger capacity, and then embedding technology with our agriculture, so that way we're cultivating more, and then looking at cold storages, because a lot of issues these farmers face is after all this hard work, they don't even reap the benefits. A lot of their food goes to waste, and then we don't have a mechanism to process some of those waste into other byproducts. So when it comes to agriculture, we're looking at different ways we can use technology, and then creating trade deals with other countries, like, hey, we can produce X amount. This is enough for the Gambia, and any surplus or excess will go outside, to boost our foreign exchange or GDP, and then also creating a portal where it's easy for buyers to find the farmers. So let's say, for example, I have a watermelon juice business. It's easy for me to go to the portal and say, hey, which farmers are in CRR or North Bank or URR that I can buy watermelon from? So we need to have an integrated system where, the logistics company can get the products from the farm straight to the buyers, or cold storage. And then all this can be done very easily if we have a better system in place. And then we need to educate our farmers. There's a lot of farming techniques these days, from greenhouse farming, those are $1 million industries, aqua farming as well. So we need to train our farmers into different ways where they can get more, they're able to produce more and make more money. So it's something that has to be addressed on a national scale. From technology, creating an integrated system where we have a lot of producers. We need more farmers, and that's why I'm actually looking into going into farming myself. I want to get into commercialized farming, so that way the youth can see, hey, you can actually be a millionaire just from farming. It's not a poor man's job. train our people, give them the right tools to be able to produce more. Even in terms of using fertilizers, we can use AI to teach the farmers, hey, you don't need to use excess fertilizers, and then there are different IoT devices you can use today to look at the moisture level of the soil, the amount of nutrient it needs. So that way we're not just wasting the supplies, right? From the fertilizers to the water, and then find different ways, because a lot of farmers also struggle with water, especially when the rainy season is over. So we can find different ways we can create canals from River Gambia straight to the farm. So a lot of work needs to be done, from using technology, having more producers, more people becoming farmers, and then creating a system where the produce is kind of, there should be a marketplace. If we have 10 farmers in this room and everybody's selling in the market, it's able to determine the price, right? Because if you're selling your watermelon for $100 here and she's selling it for 1,000, people are going to go for the guy selling it for 100. You'll be forced to bring down your price. So the government don't have to dictate, the pricing, but the market will. But the market, you can't stabilize the price without having enough producers in the system. So these are different ways where the government needs to, take a holistic view and see how they can address, issues, and then the prices of commodities will come down. It's all about supply and demand. Without enough producers, without enough Gambians farming themselves, we can't have food security. It's just impossible.
You have made mention of plot of lands, but Jahal Pacha is already there. What are you planning, or what does your party aim to do with regards to Jahal Pacha rice field?
I think we need a land reform that we need to look into, because if you look at how farming is done, it's a lot of individuals or families just doing it on their own to sustain, and then whatever excess they have, they're taking it to the market. So I think we need to do reforms where we are empowering people that are into agriculture, kind of leasing the land to them specifically for farming. And then, maybe kind of doing like a private-public partnership with farmers, where we're helping them set the infrastructure, we're giving them the land for free, helping them with machines, and then in return, the government is getting, something back from it that goes back to the nation. So I think a public-private partnership would work.
Now that the world is evolving through technology, how do you intend to change the educational system in the Gambia?
Yeah, I feel like that needs a complete overhaul. The world is changing. Obviously, you see AI. Even people that have been to school, they have university degrees. You have AI competing for your jobs, right? So we need to focus on skills that truly matter. So we need to look at the industry that lack, the necessary skill set, especially for a young country like Gambia, with 65% of the youth. 65% of the demographic being youth. So, like construction, plumbing, HVAC, and, even painting. We need to kind of fix the school curriculum to where people that are graduating from grade 12 already have the basic necessary. I remember when I was going to school, we did metal and woodwork. So we need to find ways to reform, our grade 1 to 12, where people that are leaving grade 12, they can easily find entry-level jobs. So let's say, for example, you're into metal work, right, or aluminum, putting glasses or carpentry. Our schools need to equip our young champions to get into those early on. So that way, by the time they graduate grade 12, they can actually get entry-level jobs. They're able to build, maybe small furnitures on their own. And then we should have like a vocational school where, hey, you can go to this vocational school for additional 1 year because you've already done most of the basic stuff. And after 1 year, you get your certification, and then you're able to get actual jobs. And then for those that are into STEM, we can encourage them, give them grants, because there's in terms of technology, we are actually behind, from engineers. I see more of accountants and journalists that I see with engineers, and then even those that are into engineering, there's a lot of limited opportunities. So we need to find ways to educate our people, invest in them, so that way when it comes to technology, creating applications, engineering, science, research, we have our own people, and we're creating avenues for them to, to practice and make money. So, when it comes to that area, there's a lot of work that needs to be done too, because there's a huge skills gap in the Gambia.
Right. In what ways can you help to supply hospitals with adequate medicines under your leadership as a president?
You can have. We need to invest more into healthcare, first of all, because if you look at the current budget in healthcare, we pay more service in our debt than we do in healthcare. I don't know if that makes sense. The money we take from outside, the World Bank, IMF, we pay more on interest servicing those debts than we do investing into healthcare. And if you look at even the investment into healthcare, there's no mechanism to say, we don't have a better mechanism in place in how they procure some of those supplies and how they manage them. You've seen on social media different, blogs and websites reporting, staffs that work there, taking supplies, there's no control. So we need checks and balances, and we need better inventory management too. So if the government is budgeting, let's say $1 billion into healthcare, making medicines more affordable, we need a system in place that will hold people accountable. Nobody should just have the full authority to take something that belongs for the whole of Gambia and then go sell it in their own private pharmacy. So the reason why we have that systemic failure is because we don't have a system. We don't have a better way of tracking what's coming in. Can you imagine in Brikama, you have a district hospital, a big demographic area like Brikama, and they don't have gloves. These are basic supplies. They have to give you a ticket to go buy, gloves from outside. You look at the hospital beds, you have two women in labor sharing one bed. So it's like, even the investment they're putting into the healthcare, where is that funds going? Why are hospitals like that still, asking for outside donations or lacking those, basic amenities? So we need to hold ourselves accountable. We need better systems in place. And then if anything is taken, it's easy to track who is taking what, who signed off of what. So, but without those systems in place, and it needs to be digitized. Without that, if everything is still done manually, there's not going to be checks and balances. We're just going to have dysfunctional system all over the country.
What measures will you put in place to ensure culprits of gender-based violence and crimes against humanity face the law?
That's a very important one, especially for the vulnerable communities. I think we can create an institution that stands for those people, and then if there's any violence, we should have a hotline where they can call and report issues, and then we should have the institutions to go investigate. So let's say a woman is getting abused by her husband or family member, we need an institution that can go in. Gambians should know the hotline. Just like in America, when you call 911, they get to the bottom of the issue. So we should have similar systems here. Social welfare programs that stand for those women. It's sad that's still an ongoing issue today. But with GEP, those are institutions that we would have to set up so that way nobody's being mistreated and the Gambians are living in dignity.
I can tell you for free, there are hotlines, but implementation is always the problem. How does Golden Era Party seek to address stuff regarding gender-based violence and crimes against humanity? So
implementation is the problem, is because I think the knowledge, or I don't know, I think the like I said before, right? When it comes to accountability, we're really lagging in that area. So let's say, for instance, somebody sends a report. Are they logging in? You do have a system where they can check, like in a week, how many complaints of this. So without having a system in place, nobody knows what is going on. And then sometimes some of those issues go unaddressed. It's like, for example, you have an issue. When you call AfriCell, guess what? They have a ticketing-based system, right? They will create a ticket. Like, hey, customer A, launched a complaint. How can we fix it? And then once that issue is fixed, the ticket is resolved and closed. So it's the same thing. When victims are calling, we should have a system in place that Gambians those working in that jurisdiction can have access to it, especially those in the justice system, and say, hey, in this week we had 100 complaints, and then we've been able to follow up. We have our response time, we have our resolution time, and then the culprits are being held accountable. But if we don't have those systems, nothing is going to work, because how do you know who they're fighting justice for? Like, you can't go to any of these institutions and then they have a system where you can log in and see those data. So implementation has to be done the correct way. So I feel like it's not like they don't know this. It's not like they don't know. I just think they just don't care.
Negligence, you would say?
Yes, negligence, yeah.
Now, what effective measures or strategies can you bring forward to the national stadium in order to host matches beyond the borders?
Oh yeah, we need to fix our stadium. If you look at the funding we're getting from FIFA alone, over $10 million we got from FIFA. And then, so I'm not sure why we still don't have a stadium where our youth can go in. And so again, mismanagement, negligence, and poor leadership. And it's sad, to see our football players go to other countries and train and play. So I just don't think they're serious about youth empowerment. I just don't think they're serious about sports like they say. They've had so many chances to fix the stadium, and it's still an ongoing issue. Especially if we're getting grants and all these funds from FIFA. FIFA alone has contributed over $10 million for the past 5 years, which is about $700 million or more. And we don't know about other extra funds that the government is getting. So it's sad to see that we still haven't gotten nowhere. And then when the audit report came, they were giving contracts to marketing firms that are involved in construction. So it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't add up.
Media freedom is the oxygen of democracy. Recognizing that Majak Radio and others operate under certain legal constraints, what immediate legislative action will you take to decriminalize speech offenses and fortify a truly free and vibrant press?
I'm big on freedom of press. I think we need more journalists to get into investigative journalism. If you look at our policies as a party, when it comes to even under governance, we have a Whistleblower Act in there. And with the Whistleblower Act protects investigative journalists like yourself or Majak, right, or whatever institution that are into press. So what we're going to do differently is, if you see something wrong in the system, come out and say it, and you're not going to be, you're not going to be prosecuted. So we have a Whistleblower Act, and we're looking at different ways to strengthen our policies to make sure freedom of press is a thing in the Gambia. It's good for journalists to do their homework and do factual reporting. So we have the Whistleblower Act, and it protects institutions like yours. If you see something wrong or you did your investigative work and you find a lot of holes in the story, you're going to get protected. If you go to our website right now, there's a Whistleblower Act under governance, accountability, and security.
As the election is fast approaching, how would you convince the electorate to vote for you when not many Gambians seem to know you?
And we're doing a lot of groundwork, to make sure the party is known and to make sure the outreach of the party is effective. We have a radio station just like this. We do live broadcasts on a bi-weekly basis, and then our agenda is also translated in all the 8 languages in the Gambia: Sarahule, Mandinka, Jola, Sere. So we're doing a lot of work to make sure people understand the agenda in different languages or method that is easy to perceive the message. So 12 months is a long time. We're very optimistic. By next year, when we start doing bigger rallies, more Gambians will take note of GEP. And then a lot of people have been taking notice. We just came out 2 months ago, and we've made a lot of great strides. A lot of communities we go to, they say, hey, we've heard about you guys. You're not just a brand new stranger coming to us. So it's been, the folks have been very receptive.
Right. We have seen your party in in Lawyer Daba's house. You have visited Lawyer Daba's house
yes.
recently.
Yes.
May I know the reason or the motive behind that?
Honorable Lawyer Daba is a great man. He sacrificed a lot for the country, and he's somebody, even outside of politics, that I admire and respect a lot. And regardless of GEP being another political party, we're not adversaries with any entity or with any entity or party. Out of respect, we went to visit him, to pay homage and to show that, hey, we recognize, his hard work. He's paved the door for even new political parties like us coming on board, and he welcomed us with open arms. But that's how dialogue begins. We're not running against, personalities here. We want to unite all Gambia. So if that requires us going out, reaching out, that's not a problem. He accepted he welcomed us definitely with open arms, and we had a great discussion about how we can unite Gambia and be one nation, because we all want, at the end of the day, we're all looking for a better Gambia that works for us, our kids, our grandkids.
The other question is, what are the Golden Era's plans and outreach in rural Gambia? Do they have representatives in these rural areas?
Yes, we've been on it. We've been to CRR, LRR. We've been to over 50 villages in the past 2 months. And right now we have a team that is actually in CRR area as well. So our outreach has been nationwide, not just in Combo. And every day we're going to different communities. For the past 2 months, we've been to about 52 towns and villages already. And then we still have more on the list. So there's still a lot of work. We're not being complacent. We want to reach every Gambia wherever they are. And some of these women in the rural areas are actually in their farms as we speak. We just finished the rainy season, but we're going to their farms, to their gardens and talking to them there. So, because we believe we can't, if you look at our motto, it says one nation, one vision, new direction. So we can't have one nation if we have marginalized people, because Gambia is bigger than just Combo or West Coast. So yes, we've been to URR, CRR, and we continue visiting, these places. We have another 50 villages or towns to do between now and end of January. So, we have goals for each month, and then we've been exceeding those targets or goals.
Thank you. That was powerful. We have been in the company of Mr. Saikou Sawo, the leader of the Golden Era Party, who has not steered away from the tough questions this afternoon, from revolutionary economic models to the freedom of the press. Mr. Sawo has articulated a distinct vision for the Gambia's future. The conversation continues beyond the microphone. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in today's special interview here on Majak Radio 92.2 FM. I was your host, Tijana Sture. Drive safely, think critically, and do have a pleasant day ahead. Bye for now.
You are listening to Majak Radio.
This is Majak Radio.